Hi there, I'm Colin Richards, President and founder of Lord & Richards. And in this video series, we've been talking about some of the distinctives of Lord & Richards and our team of advisors that might make us a little bit different from other folks you've talked to. And one of those major areas of distinctiveness is that we do comprehensive written plans that will help you position your assets to achieve your goals. And we call our planning process a financial independence review. Every word there is important. To be financially independent means to be able to do the things that you love with the people that you love and to enjoy yourself while you're doing it and not feel financial stress. And so our review process covers 4 key areas: risk management in terms of your investments, income planning in terms of supporting your lifestyle, healthcare planning in terms of what if you have a chronic illness that's very expensive, and of course tax and legacy planning. In each of these areas, we need a written plan because that written plan will ensure that we have the highest chance possible of achieving your goals, your dreams, and your values, the things that you share with us when we have the opportunity to visit. And so we brought ourselves along this journey to the point where we were presenting our findings to a sample client here. We call them John and Betty Sample. They're a real client. We just changed their names. But their interests and their goals align with many of our clients. You all have different goals. We know that. You have different family priorities, different life priorities. But John and Betty had a similar outlook in terms of when they wanted to retire and their budget and so forth to many of the people that we see. I'm going to show you once again on our whiteboard here. This was their reaction to our little test we call the Pyramid of Doom. I jokingly call it that because these 7 different portfolios, A through G, they're fake, but they're designed to show increasing levels of risk over the next year. What if the market dropped and it didn't go up? What if you experienced the left side, the red, instead of the green? And John and Betty shared with us that they were really not looking for a lot of risk in their portfolio. And you can see that here because they picked the first 2 most conservative portfolios. Other people might share much more aggressive. It really doesn't matter. The key is emotionally, how do you feel about risk? And that was how they felt. And so when we did their test, we went backwards in time and we looked at how their portfolio would have performed over the last few decades. And we learned on our risk return road here that on the right side of the road, they would have experienced an average of about 5.34%. That would have been their average return. Now that doesn't sound like much, but that's a good solid return over time for people that aren't looking for a lot of risk. But the challenge was because they own so much stock in their portfolio, you might recall they had about 60% of their portfolio in stock at risk, that unfortunately their downside during one of the major market downturns was way past what they would have been willing to experience in the future. So they shared with us, Colin, we need to get that fixed. We got to get that downside fixed. But how are we going to do that without stifling all of our growth? And that's where our 3 kinds of money illustration comes in. And here you see those 3 kinds of money. This time I've pre-typed a lot of it and I hand wrote in their assets to express where they fit in to our philosophy. So our philosophy is simply the purpose of money should dictate where you put it, how you invest it. Some money should be in the green money. Green money, short-term or maybe emergency, is designed to be liquid and safe. And you can see that it's protected and liquid down below, but it compromises in the area of growth. Some money needs to be in that center column, the blue column, the growing reserve. And that money is going to have growth opportunity. It's going to be kept liquid so that you can pursue other opportunities as they come. But the compromise, as we always get in each kind, one area of compromise, we're going to have some risk. And what we said at Lord & Richards is different here is we risk manage this. But another thing that's different is we recommend not having all of your money in those 2 kinds, those 2 buckets. We need a third area, a third kind of money, which is called protected money. And as you can see here, they had none in that category. And what makes that category different? Well, protected money is protected. It has growth opportunity, but it's also less liquid. That's the compromise. So remember, each kind of money has a compromise, and it's got 2 areas of emphasis. It doesn't mean that any one of these is better than the other. It simply means that we have to choose what we're going to emphasize on each kind and balance that to better achieve our financial independence goals. So if risk is where they may have had too much going, that minus 27, and by the way, that's not bad. That's certainly not bad. I see that a lot. People invest throughout their accumulation years. It goes into the 401k unless it's rebalanced regularly. More and more stock appears and it gets out of alignment and you build up too much risk. I see probably a minus 40 on the risk scale every other week. And so they weren't that bad, but they were way past how they felt emotionally, what they could tolerate. So guess what we're going to do? So as part of our reshaping of this portfolio in this initial test that we're going to share, we're going to give a concept here where we're going to take some of that cash and get that repositioned. And I don't really want that to be a line, so I'm going to turn off my ink to shape here. And so we're going to get that repositioned over here into the growing reserve, So probably a little too much cash. Now, if their budget was huge, if they were spending $10,000 a month, that might even still be too much, but their budget was pretty moderate. We recommend 3 to 6 months ordinary expenses, even when you're retired, as a good rule of thumb. So if your budget's about $5,000 a month, maybe somewhere from $15,000 to $30,000. Why? Because you need some money liquid and accessible on the spot, in the moment. Get it out of the ATM, go to the bank, transfer it online. But other dollars in the growing reserve are still liquid. They might take a couple days to get to them. But we want that growth. We need that growth. And then we took some of that money in the growing reserve and we repositioned that into protected. You say, well, what's different about that protected column? Is that cash, Colin? Is that a bank account like the first one? Well, that protected column represents what I refer to as principal protected, market-linked investing. Principal protected, market-linked. And that corresponds with these two areas you see right over here, protected and growing. So the source of protection is going to be very familiar. I'll go through that. And the source of growth is going to be very innovative. That's going to be new for you. Over here, protection. Where do we get it in our green money? Well, we put it in the bank. We might put it into cash. We might bury it in our backyard. But in every case, it's safe, it's principal protected. It's liquid, it's accessible. But over in the protected column, in the red, it's got protection like that, but it's not as liquid because we're looking for growth. Remember, we emphasize 2, we compromise on 1. In order to illustrate how we protect money and still get growth, I'm going to have to share with you a little bit of a drawing. And so I'm going to go back to my ink to shape here, so hopefully that'll make my drawing a little easier to understand. And I'll just use the red for right now. So let's just use $1 million as a round number. Okay, again, people are always saying, Colin, do you only work with people with $1 million? No, but it's a round number. Okay? So the fable is called the goose that laid the golden egg. The goose that laid the golden egg. And if you had a goose that laid golden eggs, if you'll just bear with me, which would be more important to protect? The individual golden eggs or the goose? Well, naturally, because our goose will lay more eggs, it's more valuable. We could possibly lose some eggs. Keep that in the back of your mind. So let's say that our first priority is safety on this money. And if you're like John and Betty and many other people that I talk to, you're concerned. Hey, I don't want something from the outside, market volatility or whatever, to ruin my retirement. So I want to get that money safe. Well, if you put that money somewhere safe, it might be safe in a bank CD. The insurance world has safe alternatives with a little bit of growth called fixed annuities. The life insurance world, you have whole life insurance with cash value. The thing they all have in common is they're principal protected and they're not very liquid. And you get a little bit of growth in exchange for that. Okay, so bear with me. What kind of growth might we see? Well, it varies, but let's say that this is such a conservative investment that you're only getting about 2% growth. On $1 million, that'd be, about $20,000 of interest that you've earned that year. Now, by the way, people used to put their money in CDs. Grandma and Grandpa could get a decent interest rate. How's that looking for us nowadays? Not so good over here, is it? So what we want to do is figure out is there some way we could turn that 2% or $20,000 into more? Because, boy, if you've retired on $1 million, are you telling me that's all the income you could get? Well, certainly you could get more by putting it at risk, but this is the protected money we're talking about. This is the safe money. So how are we going to get growth on that? Well, again, we're going to put that principal, that $1 million, safe and sound. And what we're going to do is we're going to gamble your golden egg. Now, I use the word gamble. We're not going to go to Black Hawk or Las Vegas. But what we're going to do is we're going to allow, in this case, let's say we work with a bank, and we purchase what's called a market-linked CD. These were created in 1987 by Chase Manhattan. Early adopters had to have a lot of money. Nowadays, ordinary folks just like you and I can participate. And we're grateful for the innovation that comes along from time to time in these financial tools. And so let's say we let them try to turn that $20,000 into more money. How are they going to do that? Well, someone at Chase Manhattan came up with a brilliant idea. They said, hey, what we're going to do is we're going to take that money and we're going to send that down to the market. We're going to keep the $1 million safe and sound, and we're just going to risk the interest. Do you follow me? So we're going to exchange the low guaranteed interest for the opportunity to earn more. Because in your CD, you could certainly be content and happy with that 2% interest, and you would have the option of keeping that. But if you took that money and gave it to the bank and said, no, you guys go ahead and see if you can turn that into more, well, the only way they're going to get some leverage on that is they're going to have to buy options. Now, if you've ever heard of options or if you've used them yourself, you know that they can be used to create safety. They can also be used to create risk. Well, in this case, that risk is opportunity. So options, yes, can have a lot of risk. As a matter of fact, the bank in this case is going to use those options in a way where if it doesn't work out at the end of the year, all of the money that they spent on that, the $20,000, is lost. You say, well, why would I do that? Well, because in this category, there is the opportunity, if you are linked to the stock market through options, to potentially double, triple, quadruple, quintuple that $20,000. You say, well, what's the average been? It depends on the tool that we use. We can use a CD called a market-linked CD. Back testing these, you might see growth in the realm of 4 to 5%. You can use a fixed type annuity. Those annuities are principal protected. You want to use one that has no fees, but you're going to get low growth. But in this case, that low growth is spent to buy those market options, and back testing that over the last 10 or 20 years reveals that there's opportunity to potentially earn in the 6 to 7% range. Well, that starts to sound a lot better than 2%. As a matter of fact, in this protected area over here, I like to think of this as our bond substitute. A bond substitute. Because how are bonds doing right now? Well, if they're conservative, they're probably not doing very well. So why not take that conservative part of the portfolio and reinvest it in something that has the potential to earn more? So let's say we got our average and we got a 6% return on the whole $1 million. So we tripled that $20,000 and it became $60,000 because the options had great opportunity in them. They're just locked in for a year, and at the end of the year, if the market goes up, you participate in some of the up. And in this case, some of that up was $60,000. Now, is that going to happen every year? Well, thing about the market is sometimes it goes down. So let's say the market dropped, and it dropped a lot. Maybe it dropped 50%, like 2008, 2009. Well, what do you have in this that's at risk? Well, is your $1 million at risk? No. That money is safe and sound over here. How about the $60,000 you earned last year? Nope, that money also gets put into your principal and kept safe at the end of each year. So it's locked in, it never disappears. So the only thing at risk was that golden egg. Your goose, $1 million, grows each year that the market goes up by some percentage, and then it locks in a new safe level. And then when the market goes down, that money stays protected, and the only thing you've lost is the opportunity to earn fixed or market-linked interest. So you get a zero. That's a powerful, powerful tool. So you might be saying, well, let me get this straight, Colin. So what you're telling me is this is an investment that never goes down. It only goes up. That sounds too good to be true. Well, it might be. I mean, elevator up, never down. Here in Denver, we look down on Pikes Peak from a distance. Those of you who live in that area know that the famous cog railway locks you into place as you move up so that you don't go sliding backwards at 100 miles per hour on your way up. That reassuring lock is the same sense that we have each and every year as you move upward, whether it be in a market-linked CD, whether it be in a fixed type annuity, whether it be in the cash value of life insurance, what used to be tools that only paid low guaranteed interest now give you the opportunity to exchange, in some cases from year to year, that low guaranteed interest for the opportunity to potentially earn quite a bit more. So you say, Colin, when you factor that in to John and Betty's portfolio and you put some money over there, how did it look? Well, let's come back and see our results. So now we see that their current portfolio would allow them to slide back by as much as 27%. That feeling of going backwards down the mountain. However, if we make those modifications, we're still not right on the money on their goals, but boy, did we get them moving in the right direction. Through careful alignment of their portfolio with their goals, the right amount in green money, the right amount in blue money, the right amount in red money, we were able to backtest the new portfolio and see that they only, in the worst case, would have lost about 7.6%, and they still would have had good, solid growth over the decades. Now, do I know what the future holds? No. But here's what I do know, that it is possible to mitigate risk through portfolio alignment. And sometimes it involves using tools that are innovative. And it involves using tools that might be a little bit out of the box for us. I hope this has been helpful to you in understanding a little bit more of the investment and risk management philosophy of Lord & Richards.